Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome to Pitchside Talk here, back on IO Radio for another week of football action with me, George. As always, how are you doing? Hope you're having a good week. It's been a good week over here. It's been, well, not raining as much. It's been still a bit windy, which is kind of annoying, but we've had plenty of football action to keep us inside, keep us nice and warm away from that horrible weather out there. And this week, I'm always joined by Dan, our co-host and Ipswich Town fan who's, well, going from hero to zero each week, really, isn't it, Dan?
It is, yeah. As we'll get into in a minute, it's just highs and lows at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit more bumpy than a bumpy road at the moment, isn't it? That's a really bad analogy, actually. I couldn't think of one. I was trying to think.
It's all right. That's fine.
Well, this show is a mess sometimes, so I'm just going to continue on. The social medias, yes, the social media. If you want to follow us on any of social medias, it's pretty simple to do. Twitter @Pitchside Talk, Instagram talk_pitch, YouTube, Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk, and also on our YouTube we do some match previews. So if you want to see early access for them, you can go over there, subscribe. You can see all the games for the Premier League, Crown, and Champions League season. And Dan is already very tired and we've only just started the show.
Sorry, I didn't think you heard that. All right, just ignore.
It's all right. It's been a long Friday already. It's been a long Friday already. Well, what have we got coming at the show? So we're talking about Ipswich Town. We had another double bill. We had 2 more games in 4 days as Paul Cook searched for his first victory versus Plymouth. And then we had that Fleetwood game, which is kind of interesting to talk about. The Premier League, that's been back for another week, but we've had some big shocks and some big twists in the Premier League this weekend. We'll be talking about that. And we have the Champions League Roundup. Yes, the Champions League, we finally know who is through to the quarterfinal stage of the Champions League this season, which is kind of interesting to watch because there's some very good teams through and some very big teams being knocked out. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town and what has been going on this week.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan. As always, now before we go on to the show, talking about Ipswich Town this week, I better mention the social medias, because if not, I will forget and I'll just be very annoyed with myself. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is talk_pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, or if not, you want to see any more additional content, we do match previews and we do early access to those match previews for every Premier League game, Ipswich Town game, and Champions League game this season. So make sure to subscribe to never miss another video. Now, Ipswich Town this week, we've had a double bill of action. They were back in action with 2 more games in 4 days as Paul Cook still searched for that first victory as Ipswich Town boss in his 3rd game. And well, at the end of Saturday, Troy Parrott scored his first professional goal, which won 3 points to Ipswich Town. Paul Cook, he got them back into the playoffs. He got his first 3 points as Ipswich Town manager in his 3rd game in charge. Dan, happy days, eh?
Yeah, it was at the time, wasn't it? You know, decent performance against a Plymouth side who have been quite good this season. We weren't really holding on at the end, but it was a solid 1-0. I think Troy Parrott getting his first goal, his first professional goal, that's good for him. Although it was probably the easiest one he'll ever score in his career, his first one. But, you know, decent performance. And after that game in 6th place, I was absolutely buzzing with that, and was hoping that we'd be able to stay in that top 6 until the end of the season. But as we'll talk about now, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Spoiler warning, that didn't last too long. Well, no. Saturday was a big high for Ipswich Town, but they needed to keep it up as they made the 270-mile round trip to Fleetwood. And they ended up 2nd best in every department as the Fleetwood won 2-0 on the night, which could have been more. I think Simon Grayson was saying it should have been 3 or 4, but it wasn't. But Dan, poor result, out of the playoffs, down to 7th place in 1 game. the inconsistency in this side is killing this promotion push and also just trying to stay in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? The inconsistency in this squad. And it's been like that for a long time, hasn't it? Even under the previous management, I'll get it right this time.
Yes.
And even under the previous management, it was like that, wasn't it? We may have lost quite a few in a row, but we still managed to, pick up points here and there. But yeah, it's just getting to us now. I think that, Paul Cook, he's got it all right in that our consistency is what's killing us. And if we aren't going to get in the playoffs, that's what it will be because as we saw against Plymouth, we performed well. Again, it wasn't the best I've seen us play, but it's League One. I don't think we're going to be playing amazing football every week. So, it was a solid performance. And then, a few days later, we put in a performance like that. It was really, really awful performance at Fleetwood. Weren't really attacking at all. The players didn't really look up for it. I don't think there was a player on the pitch really that had a good game. I think maybe James Wilson was okay, but that's the only real person I can think of that had a good game. But yeah, this is absolutely frustrating because it seems like every time we get in a really good position, sixth place, back inside the playoffs, we've been out of it for such a long time. We get back into it on Saturday, and we just needed to even get a draw to stay in that playoff position. I don't know if that would have been enough because I think Charlton won, but we just needed to pick up some points. But we bottle it once again. Every single time we bottle it, and if we're going to keep doing that, then we're not going up this year. I don't think we will go up anyway, but we need to keep getting points on the board because time is running out. Time is getting less and less. I think it's only 12 or 13 games left now, so we need to start picking up points again.
Yeah, not too many games to go for Paul Cook this season, but you are right, Charlton did win. But if Ipswich did draw, they would have stayed in the playoffs by goal difference. So it's going to come down to fine margins this season. But as you said, the game was very painful to watch. I think you paid a tenner, but you only watched the first 45. So
yes, yeah, I wasted my money.
Oh, God, not the first time I've done that. The body language from the players was really poor. Like we said before, they were second best in every department. And as well, the side is so inconsistent because one game, they looked good and they looked fighting. We saw that with Plymouth. They won that game. I know it was a 1-0, but it was a better performance than was seen. But then the next, they're just awful to watch. And it's horrible because, like you're saying, that when they need to win, they don't seem they want to win and getting into the playoffs and staying there. I don't think they've ever tried to do that before. I think 14-15, they had a chance to go first and they never did that. And it's a common problem with this town side and from previous generations. There's no consistency when they need to perform.
No, and yeah, it's been like that for so long. I think even going back to Mick, in games where we had to win, the really important games, we'd bottle it. And we need to stop that. We need that mentality to go. We need the pressure to not get to our players. I'm not going to go as far as saying the players don't care. I think that's going a bit too far because I think they do care. But there's still the performances make it look like they don't. I think that's the main thing. They're not putting the 100% every single week. And to get out of this league, you really need to do that. And I think that's what Paul Cook is trying to put across. I think, you can't really blame Paul Cook for any of this. He's come in, has the squad he's got. It's a fallout from Hurst changing everything and Lambert bringing his own signings in. Then two managers didn't work out. So I said his name, bloody hell. For God's sake. So he's got them players, and I think if you're blaming Paul Cook, well, you shouldn't be blaming Paul Cook for this. I think, he's trying to put his kind of stance on things, I think. But yeah, I think it's just so inconsistent and so frustrating. And I just don't know where it's going to go from here because, we'll probably put in a really good performance against Portsmouth on Saturday, maybe get a win. And then we'll go into the next game. I don't know who it's against. But Wigan. We'll go into that game and probably perform poorly and draw 0-0 or something. So, that's really something that Paul Cook needs to sort out quickly because, as I said, there's not long left in the season. And I really want us to get in the playoffs because I don't think it'll be I think it'll be a failure of a season if we don't, to be honest, because of the run of games we with the run of games we've got coming up, most of the games against bottom and mid-table sides, aren't they? So, yeah, I'm not going to blame Paul Cook. I think the players need to take some responsibility now, as nothing's really changed through the change of manager. But yeah, we need to start picking up points, as I said before.
Yeah, well, we might not see much change until the summer because the way the season's going, you've got games coming in thick and fast, and we've got, was it just under 2 months until the end of the season, I want to say?
Yeah.
It's early May, isn't it? Finish. It's a really tight finish actually this year, isn't it? It's early May, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yes, it is. And I think we've got 2 games in May as well, so that'll be interesting.
Gosh. Yeah, games coming thick and fast. But going back to the game, another false start by Ipswich Town this season. 3 successive away games that Ipswich have conceded the first goal inside 10 minutes. And the fans were sort of talking a lot about Thomas Holy. Once again, rooted to his spot. We've seen that in the last 2 games. Lincoln, the sort of the wonder hit, which I don't think he could have saved, but he didn't really move to sort of look like he could try and save it. It's sort of blamed for that one. Gillingham as well. He's rooted to his spot for the first goal and the little bit of his problems for the third one as well. But we're seeing quite a lot of mistakes from this season, which we didn't really see at all last season when he was playing well and then was getting dropped for another goalkeeper who was making a few mistakes here and there. But the fans have questioned if he is the right goalkeeper going forward for Ipswich Town in the long term and now really for the next game. But is it right that they're questioning him a bit? Because the defending has been very poor in all the goals that have been conceded in sort of the away games and the home games. But is it right to start questioning the goalkeeper?
I think he's making a lot of mistakes, so I'd say yes. When you make that many mistakes as a goalkeeper, it's always going to happen, isn't it? It happened with Will Norris last season. Yeah, making really poor mistakes. He came out really quickly. Sometimes he got lobbed about 5 times, didn't he? So we got fed up with him. And I think the problem with Holy is, I think when you don't dive when the shot comes in, it feels like he's not trying. And I think that's what our fans have a problem with. He does make a lot of mistakes. The game against Accrington, he kind of just let the ball go through his arms, didn't he? And then their player had a tap in. And I think he doesn't really command his box very well for a player that's 6'7" or something like that. He needs to command his area better. He can catch everything that comes in, surely. He's tall enough to do that. So I think he needs to improve that side of his game. I think he's an okay shot stopper. He's able to save. I think he's able to save the shots that you'd expect a keeper to save, but that doesn't take away the fact that they're good saves. But I just think that our 2 goalkeepers aren't great. We haven't seen much of Cornell, but what I've seen from him, all I remember from him is a mistake he made against Portsmouth in the FA Cup, in a free kick, the free kick that went through him. So, but I think the fact is we were used to Bialkowski, and he was, he's the best goalkeeper I've seen at Ipswich since I've been watching. And he was absolutely fantastic. So I think we've set our bar for goalkeepers quite high. So when a keeper comes in that is, I'm not going to say Holy's a bad keeper. I think he's just okay at this level. I just think that, we're not used to having that type of keeper. So I think his spot needs to be questioned. I'd give Cornell a try. I'd see how he does. I don't really, as I said before, we haven't really seen him much. But I would bring him in and give him a try. But I think that area is somewhere that we're going to have to look at in the summer, I think, and bring in a good keeper, because it's getting, there's a lot of mistakes are happening now. I think it's getting too much. So I'd bring in a new keeper in the summer.
Would it be risky to change it all now? If you put Cornell in goal now for the next game, it would be with a new back line. Would that be risky to do that? Because Holy's played with Toto and Wilson for God knows now 5 games plus in a row. So there's going to be that chemistry and that connection there. They're going to have that understanding. But if they bring in Cornell, that could spark a lot of problems at the back. If we think about it in that way, because we're sort of seeing when snaps decisions have happened at Ipswich Town, sort of making substitutions and changes, they haven't really worked this season and last season as well.
Yeah, obviously it's a risk, and I don't think, I say bring Cornell in for these games, but I don't think Paul Cook will do that, because the things that he's been saying consistency, and I think he wants to keep that back 5 until the end of the season, it seems. So yeah, I don't think he'll change it, but it could be a risk to make changes this late on, as you said. But I think it gets to a point where a player's off form, and I think I see it with Dazelle as well. A player that's off form, he needs to have a rest for a bit. His confidence will be low, and I think them type of performances will keep coming from him. So I would still replace. Maybe not until the end of the season, but for the next few games, I'd see if Cornell does well, and if he does well in goal, then keep him till the end of the season. But yeah, I don't think Paul Cook really wants to change much. He seems like he just wants to keep it consistent with, as in the team sheets on match day. So yeah, I can't really see that happening. But as I said before, I'd look at a keeper in the summer, because I'm not confident when they're playing. I think that's the main thing. I'm not confident in both of our keepers that they're gonna be able to, be good on the day. So I think I'd definitely replace them in the summer. But yeah, as you said, if changing it too much is definitely a risk.
Yes, it is a big risk. Paul Cook, after the game, was very honest in his post-match interview. Sorry, not pre-match, post-match. Sorry. He was very honest. He said the dip between games is alarming. The inconsistency as well. The inconsistency is our consistency at the moment, which is completely true. And also, so much work needs to be done, but we can't be negative at this time. The concerning thing really here for Town is if they play like this one too many more times, we can sort of say playoffs are going to be off the cards. I know they're mathematically possible. I know they're 1 point, and we're sort of saying it's a bit like a crisis at the moment. They're 1 point off the playoffs. Why are we all moaning? But if they keep putting these performances like this, it's going to cost them in the long run. We're seeing it. Like, I think if they hadn't lost, or if they played better in some of the other games, we could be saying they'll be firmly in the playoffs, and it will look a little bit more rosy and all sorts. But does this highlight the massive job that Paul Cook has now got at this club? Because the inconsistency is killing this side. You can see it. It's the biggest problem at the moment. But does it show that the squad isn't up to the job at the moment? And in the summer, if they are in the Championship or in League One, it's going to be crucial to get it right, which is something that Ipswich haven't done in a long while. Get it right.
No, it has been a long time since that's happened, hasn't it? But yeah, I think the fact that there's not that long in the season to go is the biggest worry, isn't it? We can stick around the players for as long as we want, but the season doesn't go on forever. So we need to start sorting this out quickly. I think what Paul Cook says is right, and it's good to see that we've got an honest manager for once. I've said that before. His interviews are really good to watch. So he knows what the problems are, and he knows what he needs to do to change it. And I think he's up for the challenge for that. Still believe we've picked the right manager for the job. But as for the squad, yeah, a lot of changes need to be made in the summer. We've got a lot of players out of contract, which is a good situation for us, I'd say. There's a few I'd keep, but I said on Twitter the other day during the Fleetwood game, I said, I've never disliked an Ipswich squad as much as I do this one. I can't really pick my favourite player out of this squad. I can't really get behind them as much as I would as with other squads under other managers, and I think that's a massive problem. I think even though the manager's changed, I still think the fans feel disconnected to the club. We feel disconnected to the owner. We feel disconnected to the players. So I think I really do believe that Paul Cook's the right man for the job, but he needs to bring in his own changes in the summer. The summer is massive. It really is. And yeah, I don't think this squad is up for it and up for the task to get in the playoffs. And even if we do get in the playoffs, is this squad of players going to be able to win it? I don't think they would be able to. So we really need to just stick this out this season, I think. I just think it's going to be the same story pretty much throughout the rest of the season. We'll win a game and then we'll look like we'll be in contention, and then we'll put in a poor performance the next game and get a loss. And we just need to drag this out. If we don't go up this year, it's okay. We'll rebuild and go next year. But if we do get up this year, I'll take it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few months and also in the summer as well, because it'll be a perfect time for Paul Cook to stamp his authority and make it his Ipswich Town squad. But we're looking too far ahead. But this Saturday, or tomorrow, sorry, Ipswich Town are on the road still. This time they're travelling down to Portsmouth, who have had recently a bumpy time sacking their manager, Kenny Jackett, after only one win in 7 games. And apparently Daniel Crowley has agreed verbally to be the new Portsmouth manager now until the end of the season. We do not know when that will take effect. Hopefully not for this game, as he is a good manager. But, 1 win in the last 7 games, a cup loss to Salford in the delayed Papa John's 2020 trophy. Yes, that is still a thing. They played 2 finals in a week. It was a bit weird. And also the last time they were played, they lost 1-0 to Peterborough, seeing them sit down further to the table, down to 10th. Dan, on paper here for Ipswich Town, this is a great chance to get 3 points with Portsmouth's recent form. It's a perfect opportunity for 3 points. But for Portsmouth, it's a great chance for them to capitalise on Ipswich Town here, because they don't know what Ipswich Town are going to get. We don't know if we're going to get a town that's fighting or a town that's going to be second best in every department.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd like to think we'll come back fighting. I think Paul Cook will definitely try and, in training this week, he'll sort of try and get a bounce back from the players. But yeah, no matter what form Portsmouth are on, it's still going to be a tough game. And I think with the change of manager, that will help them. Kenny Jackett is they've gone into kind of a rut, haven't they? He took over about 3 years ago. I think they're in League One when he took over. Because Paul Cook took them up. So he's kind of not really, made them go further, and he's had a poor run, and I think they're right to sack him. So I hope that Danny Cowley doesn't come in before Saturday, because he's a good manager, and he was our second choice, weren't he? I hope he doesn't come in before Saturday. But I don't know. I'm still not really confident in this game, no matter what form people are in. I think we don't have a goal threat. I don't know if Norwood's going to be back. I hope he is. But if he's not, I really don't see us scoring a goal. I can see this being a 0-0. I can see this being a boring 0-0. Portsmouth out of form, Ipswich out of form. Well, actually, saying that, we're not really out of form, but we didn't perform well in the last game. I'm going to go for a board draw.
God, a board draw? 0-0?
Yeah.
God, I thought it was supposed to be positive score predictions ever since Paul came in.
No. Fine, 1-0 Town.
I twisted his arm. We've got a victory coming to Town this weekend. What do you think? What will happen to Town? Let us know on Twitter at Pitch I Talk. What's your score prediction for Ipswich Town versus Portsmouth versus Ipswich Town this weekend, not the other way around. But yeah, that's everything for the Ipswich Town section this week. And when we come back, when we talk about all about the Premier League, we had a big derby happen. We have another twist in the title, in the battle for relegation. Sorry, not the title race. That's already done and dusted. The relegation battle, and another manager has been sacked as well. So stay tuned.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, now before we move on, talk about the Premier League this week. I better mention the social medias. If not, I will forget and I will look like an absolute wally like I always do. The Twitter this week is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram talk_pitch, YouTube Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want us back to any of our previous shows, don't worry. If you missed it's Dan having a moan about Ipswich Town this week, that'll be up Fridays at 6 p.m. straight away as the show finishes. And also, if you want to see any additional content, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see some more. But this week, the Premier League has been back. We've had 10 matches happening, a big derby as well between two London clubs. Another twist in the relegation battle, and another manager has been sacked. But before we talk about that, I better mention the results this week. So on Friday night, it ended 1-1 between Newcastle and Aston Villa. Leeds drew 0-0 with Chelsea on Saturday lunchtime. Crystal Palace got a 1-0 victory over West Brom. Everton lost 2-1 to Burnley Saturday tea time. And then Saturday night, Manchester City won 3-0 against Fulham. Sunday lunchtime, Brighton won 2-1 against Southampton, a big victory for Brighton. Leicester won 5-0 over Sheffield United. The North London derby happened and Arsenal won that 2-1. And then Sunday night, Manchester United won 1-0 over West Brom. And then Monday night football, Liverpool won 1-0 over Wolverhampton Wanderers. But firstly, the manager sacked this week was Chris Wilder. Saturday evening, Sheffield United confirmed that Chris Wilder had left the club after 5 years in charge. His time in charge, he took Sheffield United from League One to the Premier League in 5 years, which is an outstanding achievement, what he's done for the club. He kept them in the Premier League, up in the Premier League last season, and nearly got them to finish in the European spots. But this season has been a real struggle for them after last season. But a very strange sacking, I think we could say, Dan. Only 9 games to go left in the Premier League. And after Sunday's game against Leicester, which ended 5-0, which Billy Sharp came out and said it was 11 men versus 11 boys. It could have been more. It should have been 10 plus, he reckoned, for what the scoreline was. But the players look very lost without Chris Wilder. There's no sort of leader there now. You know, the leader is gone. In Chris Wilder, he kept them motivated, and he was a very good manager there, and he'd done a lot for the club and for the players. But they're now looking to try, and this is now about building for the season when they go into the Championship. But the bounce back next season could be very difficult without him if they don't get the right appointment. And also, I think we could say 9 times out of 10, he would have been the perfect man to bounce them back into the Premier League.
Yeah, you'd say that, wouldn't you? It was such a strange decision. With 9 games left to go, they're already really down, aren't they? So it's so strange that they change it now, because teams, you'd say that teams would change something to see if they could try and stay up in that situation, but it's too late now. So if they were going to sack him, I would have waited till the summer, but I still think it was the wrong decision to do that. What he's achieved at Sheffield United has been absolutely excellent. He's been absolutely amazing for them. And last season as well, that was the high point for him, wasn't it? Being able to get a Sheffield United team that hadn't really changed in that summer, had they, after getting promoted from the Championship. They hadn't really changed much. I think their whole defensive midfield was the same, and managed to get them to perform the way they did was absolutely excellent. So, really good servant to that club, and the fans love him there. I think the players love him as well, and they're going to miss him, and it shows already. His man management. That he can get the best out of his players, and that's what you need in a manager. Yeah, I would have thought he would have been the best choice to bring them back up. I really think they should have kept him. Maybe he wanted to leave, I don't know, but I think they should have kept him for the Championship because he's that type of manager that will be able to help them bounce back. And as you said, their next appointment is going to have to be the right appointment because the Championship, as we know, it's a hard and competitive league, and you need the right formulas to get promoted. So it's really going to be interesting to see who becomes their new manager in the Championship, and if they manage to get back up. And it'll also be interesting to see if any of their players are kind of sold back to the Premier League. I don't think a lot of them will because I still think their squad have got a lot of Championship players in it that are, overperforming in the Premier League. So, yeah, it will be really interesting to see what changes happen in the summer, definitely.
Well, they're hard-working Championship players. I think they're sort of showing they have got probably quality to stay up, but we'll have to wait and see. It'd be interesting to see what happens to that squad if Chris Wilder does go somewhere else. Will a lot of them players join him there? And also, what will be the dismantling process? Because clubs will want these players, and there is some key players on that side. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer, but not very good news for the Blades fans. So we had the North London derby this week. The 201st meeting between Arsenal and Tottenham happened on Sunday in the North London derby, and Arsenal stole the bragging rights over their rivals after coming from behind. A good game to watch, we can sort of say. Mikel Arteta rewarded for his brave call in the dropping Aubameyang to the bench after he broke pre-match protocols, being late for the team bus. I think if Arteta's my manager, I'd never want to be late for the bus now. I think he's sort of saying, come on. But they're now 4 points off their rivals Spurs. But for Jose Mourinho, he paid the price of a negative approach to the game. With the defeat, Son going off injured, possibly a muscle or hamstring injury. We're not too sure, but we don't know what the extent is of the damage. And the goal scorer, Eric Lamela, who scored a beautiful goal. I think even Arsenal fans can admit it was a beautiful goal to see. But he got sent off in the end. But Tottenham, they dropped off the pace of the top four. They could have capitalised this weekend. But for Arsenal, they're now 4 points off their rivals. And looking at it, Europe is still on the cards for them.
Yeah, it could be. That'll be a turnaround, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Arsenal getting into Europe, that'd be amazing turnaround by Arteta. But yeah, a good game, I'd say. I didn't think Tottenham were really very impressive. As you said, I think Mourinho was a little bit negative. I think they were on the back foot from the start. But Lamela came on and scored that goal. That was absolutely fantastic. You usually do that when you're like 5-0 up. I can't believe he actually tried that and it came off. Son getting injured, that's massive for them. That's going to be a big miss. But yeah, I think Arsenal did well to come back from that, and I think that was a really big win for them. Getting closer to the European spots, getting closer to Tottenham. So yeah, I think they'll be really happy with that result. I think they probably deserved it, didn't they? I thought they were the better side through most of the game. So I think Arteta will be really happy. I think it's starting to look like it's turning around for Arsenal. I think they're looking good I think the second half of the season they've looked much better. And I think Arteta has kind of now settled in properly, and he can really try and do a job there. I still think. I didn't think he was the right man for the job at the time, but I think they should stick with him. They should trust him because I think he's doing a decent job there. So yeah, great result for Arsenal. But I think Mourinho and Tottenham have some lot of things to go through and a lot of stuff to change.
Yeah, I want to say that's probably one of his first ever losses at the Emirates Stadium. I think. I don't think he's ever lost there. Possibly.
Wow, that's mad.
Well, you might have done. I don't actually. What did he lose? No, he might have done actually under Manchester United. I forgot that Manchester United spell. Sorry, he might have done actually. off the top of my head. I think he did actually. Manchester United.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
Mourinho
food
just
for
likes to
thought.
manage Arsenal's rivals.
Yeah, that's food for thought. If anybody knows, let us know on Twitter at Pitchside Talk because I don't know at the moment. But moving on to the relegation battle, another twist in the fight to stay in the Premier League this week as Newcastle picked up a point in the last minute of extra time versus Aston Villa. Fulham, they lost to Manchester City, and Brighton picked up 3 crucial points against Southampton. All changed at the bottom now. Brighton now 3 points clear of the drop zone. Newcastle are clear by 2 points, but Fulham, they're still in the drop zone. But this week, well, tomorrow, and actually in a few hours, is going to be very crucial because in a few hours' time, Fulham will be playing Leeds, and a good chance then to possibly go back up with Leeds, not looking very good themselves at the moment. But a very big 6-pointer on Saturday with Brighton taking on Newcastle. By the end of next week, Dan, or by the end of Saturday, we could be talking about a new battle here for relegation. It could all change.
Yeah, it could all change. It's really hotting up at the bottom, isn't it? So, I like a relegation battle at the end of the season. I hope it goes to the last day. That's always really good. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate that Fulham had City at the weekend. So I think if they had a different team, they would have stayed with them. But a big win for Brighton against Southampton. They've been lacking goals and they managed to score 2 in this game and got the win. So really good for them. Newcastle probably would have wanted better than a draw, but they still managed to get that equaliser late on. So yes, it's getting really interesting at the bottom. And this game coming up, Newcastle v Brighton. Fulham will be hoping for a draw, I think, in that. They don't want either team to win, really, do they? So they're hoping for a draw. And if Fulham could beat Leeds and there's a draw in that Newcastle and Brighton game, it's going to look very, very interesting, isn't it? So I think it can go anyway still. Even though Brighton won, I think they're still really inconsistent. So I still think it could go anyway and either 3 of them could still stay up. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how it turns out.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. So in a few hours' time, we have Leeds kicking off against Fulham. And then Saturday, we have 1 game, which is the Brighton versus Newcastle game. And Sunday, we'll have 2 games, which is West Ham versus Arsenal and Aston Villa. Tottenham for everything for the Premier League this week. The owners has reduced number of games because the FA Cup's on, the best cup competition in the world. Gosh, guys, how do we forget about that? Well, we'll talk about it next week. But yeah, that's everything for the Premier League this week. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Champions League, and we found out who's going to be in the quarterfinals. Hooray!
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. Me, George, and Dan. As always, now the Champions League has been back on this week. We've seen the last 4 games of the knockout stages to see who would join Borussia Dortmund, Porto, Liverpool, and PSG in the quarterfinal stages. And we had 2 more English teams fighting out to get into the quarterfinals. Let's see what happened in those games. Manchester City, they moved into the quarterfinals for the 4th season in a row after another 2-0 victory over Borussia Mönchengladbach in Budapest, like they did a few weeks ago, but they did it again, not deja vu. But Pep has said the Champions League remains the biggest one for Manchester City since he joined, and they are on course to get the quadruple. Well, according to Zinchenko, that is, but Pep Guardiola doesn't think that's on. But we'll have to wait and see who's right and who's wrong. And then Real Madrid, they reached the quarterfinals of the Champions League for the first time in 3 seasons with a clinical second leg performance over Atalanta, winning 4-1, I think, on aggregate, if I'm correct. But the last time they reached the quarterfinals, they went on to go and win the whole competition that year. So maybe they could do it. We're not too sure just yet. And then moving on to Wednesday's games, Chelsea, they reached the quarterfinals of the Champions League for the first time in 7 years. Yes, I said that right. 7 years they had not made the quarterfinals. Absolutely bonkers. With a 3-0 aggregate win over the La Liga leaders, Atletico Madrid with Ziyech's early goal and Emerson's late strike, sealing a good win for Chelsea, but a very good performance by Chelsea, keeping Thomas Tuchel's unbeaten run going of 13 games as Chelsea boss. And then finally, Bayern Munich, they cruised into the quarterfinals. So they added 2 more goals to their aggregate lead over Lazio, which ended 6-2 in the end, with the defending champions showing their strength and determination to win this competition again this season. So Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and Manchester City join the likes of Borussia Dortmund, Liverpool, Porto, and PSG into the quarterfinals. And well, the draw is going to be very interesting for that, which you can find out online. I don't know when it happens. I can't remember. I don't know if it might have already happened. I don't know, actually. Not too sure. We'll have to find out. But when we come back, we're going to be doing a quick little football roundup.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadios Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, now before we move on and talk about football roundup this week, I better mention social medias: Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows or even this one, don't worry, it'll be up in a few minutes at 6 p.m. on Friday. If you missed it, Dan talked about Ipswich Town, the Premier League, and our Champions League roundup. Now, it is time for football roundup. Hooray! But I'm going first this week, and I apologise to all the Ipswich Town fans out there, but I've got some horrible news to say that league leaders Norwich have earned their ninth win in a row. There we go. I've got it in the wrong way around. That's how bad it is. But they're now 10 points clear at the top of the championship and now looking very likely to get promoted back up to the Premier League. Yikes. This is not good at all. But Dan, can you redeem us with some better news?
Well, not for Ipswich, but
no.
for Charlton fans, there is some good news. So this morning, Charlton, well, they'd already sacked their manager, Lee Bowyer, because he went to Birmingham, didn't he? They appointed a new manager in Nigel Adkins, former Southampton, Reading, Sheffield United manager. Decent appointment for them, I think. Obviously, as I said, not good for Ipswich fans because they're above us now. So, yeah, but a good appointment for them, I think, with a manager who's had experience in this league. Yeah,
experience with Southampton, Sheffield United, Scunthorpe, but also as well, he's had experience in the Championship and he's got teams to the Premier League. So, Charlton fans, it could go right for you. We will never know. We'll have to wait and see. And before the referee blows his whistle for full time, and that is the end of the show. We've got to the end of the show. It's a bit of a miracle. But Dan, I want to thank you very much for being on, as always.
No problem.
Will you be joining me next week where we'll be talking about one Ipswich game for once? One. We only got one game.
When was the last time that happened?
A lot. I don't. Christmas? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. We'll be just talking about the Portsmouth game. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. The Premier League and the FA Cup next week. So we'll be talking about that as well. And before we go, I better mention the social medias: Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_Pitch, YouTube Mixcloud both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any previous shows, any additional content, or even this show, don't worry, it'll be up in a few minutes at 6 p.m. So Dan, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. I've been George. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.